because our show was never a ESPN show, never fucking will be. Other than that, I am so pumped to be a part of the ESPN family.
Pat McAfee has proved himself to be the ultimate American sellout, and I've got the best evidence of it that you'll find anywhere on the internet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the commissioner of the NFL. Don't listen to them. Roger Goodell. Shut your mouth. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us.
I've been following Pat McAfee since his early days on YouTube, and I've watched firsthand as he's completely sold out. I looked around the internet to see if there was a good video that really did it justice, and I couldn't find one, so I'm doing it myself.
We ain't changing a damn thing.
I'm going to give you everything you need to know and the best moments from the Pat McAfee sellout over the past couple years. But first, Pat McAfee is now somehow hailed as some conservative free speech leader, even though he's always like, oh, I don't want to talk about politics. I just want to be neutral and talk about sports and want everybody to be happy. But he was always willing to make an exception for a nice liberal trend that he thought would keep him popular on social media.
George Floyd murder was one that had the entire country ready for real change in the United States of America. Peaceful protests were happening. A lot of people were showing up on the streets, marching, chanting in unison.
On January 6th, Pat McAfee was so outraged that he had to make another exception to spread misinformation and condemn Trump supporters.
And I will shine lights on things whenever I deem that it's worth my input. 4 people died, and there was nooses constructed outside the Capitol with a Confederate flag flying in the United States Capitol. You motherfuckers lost a long time ago. Get your flag out of there. There was a lot of things that happened yesterday that if you take a step back, you go, that is the dumbest thing that has ever happened in this country. I am against any time idiots get in the way of people doing the right thing.
If you don't think what he just said is garbage, check out my January 6th eyewitness account report, link in the description to that video. And if you like my content, please subscribe and turn on notifications for the Matthews Report. I'd love to have you on board. Pat McAfee built a huge audience on YouTube, and his whole brand was being an alternative to ESPN and the mainstream sports media. They would make fun of ESPN all the time, make fun of people who left alternative media to go to ESPN, and he said on countless occasions that he would never go to ESPN.
You could see how ESPN would be like, we don't want to get this confused here that you're still working with us as this whole thing, as our people are going over there. So I think that's a little bit of a difference because our show was never a ESPN show, never fucking will be.
Next thing you know, ESPN comes knocking, and Pat McAfee and all the yes men on his show fall madly in love with themselves.
Our show is what a lot of these suit folk are now viewing as the future of daily sports talk. I think that's a really cool thing. A few years back, none of these networks would even give me a meeting. Now, we're the tip of the spear of what sports media needs to be in its next chapter.
Shockingly, he decided to take the bag of money, but don't worry, he promised, not that he ever stood for anything in the first place, but he promised nothing's gonna change.
We ain't changing a damn thing.
The episode when Pat McAfee announced that he was moving his show to ESPN got a whopping 18,000 likes and 37,000 dislikes. Truly incredible feedback.
Our show is still our show, just with a bit more reach and access due to partnering with the worldwide leader.
But Pat McAfee doesn't give a damn if you like it or not. The next day he came out and lectured his audience. How dare they question his decision to go to ESPN? How dare they accuse him of ever possibly selling out? And that episode got an even worse like to dislike ratio of 5,000 likes to 18,000 dislikes. Okay, now for some of Pat McAfee's best sellout moments. Number 1, Roger Goodell. First of all, who the hell likes Roger Goodell? No NFL fan likes Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell is out for himself. He's out to make money for the NFL and its shareholders, and he's out to keep his position of power, most importantly. When Pat McAfee had the independent show on YouTube, they used to always rail on Roger Goodell. The fans loved it. As soon as he gets over to ESPN, all of a sudden he's buddy-buddy with Roger Goodell. He has him on the air. When he brings him on, it's a live audience in the back of the NFL draft, and the crowd's booing like crazy, and Pat McAfee says, "Shut up, I'm having my commissioner on."
Ladies and gentlemen, the commissioner of the NFL. Don't listen to them. Roger Goodell. Shut your mouth. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't listen to them, Roger.
They're idiots.
They don't know. They don't know.
Shit, Roger.
See you, sir.
You're our commissioner. What you have done with our league is nothing short of phenomenal. So first of all, I think all of us would like to say thank you for the direction.
Pat and Roger were loving each other so much they couldn't keep their hands off each other. They had to go in for a second hug.
Good pick. Thank you, Raj. I'll pick him up. Thank you, Raj. I'm not going to pick you up because you got that back.
All right.
Yeah.
I got it.
From us to you, we'd like to give you a gift that we know you're a big fan of. Ladies and gentlemen, some peanut M&Ms for our commish. Obviously, you can
This
take.
is why we're on set?
Yep, you can take these with you.
Oh,
You can take them home.
Number 2, I'm so sorry, Jimmy Kimmel. Pat McAfee threw Aaron Rodgers under the bus and sided with Jimmy Kimmel and issued Jimmy Kimmel a stupid apology when Jimmy Kimmel was the one who attacked Aaron Rodgers. Let me break it down for you. Jimmy Kimmel attacked Aaron Rodgers unprovoked and said he had brain damage for even suggesting that there could possibly even be a Jeffrey Epstein flight list. Here's the initial video that started the whole thing.
Needless to say, all this UFO talk has the tinfoil hatters going wild, including Green Bay whackpacker Aaron Rodgers, who offered this hot take on the Pat McAfee show.
Did you hear about the Epstein client list about to be released too?
What's that? What are you talking about?
There's some files that have some names on it that might be getting released pretty soon.
Oh.
Might be time to revisit that concussion protocol, Aaron.
Okay, so in response to that, Aaron Rodgers went on and made these joking comments about Jimmy Kimmel. In response to that. Otherwise, it would have never happened.
This has something to do with the Epstein list that came out?
Feels like.
That's supposed to be coming out soon.
Look, this guy's been waiting in his wine cellar.
Yeah.
I've been waiting in my wine cellar for this thing.
A lot of people, including Jimmy Kimmel, are really hoping that doesn't.
All right.
So then Jimmy Kimmel, of course, had a meltdown. Jimmy Kimmel's on ABC. ABC owns ESPN. ABC and ESPN forced Pat McAfee to apologize, and he folded like a cheap suit and did it.
But I can see exactly why Jimmy Kimmel felt the way he felt, especially with his position. But I think Aaron was just trying to talk shit. Now, did it go too far? And a lot of people, Jimmy Kimmel certainly said that was the case. We and I immediately upon it happening, trying to be like, But some things, obviously, people get very pissed off about, especially when they're that serious allegations. So we apologize for being a part of it.
Would Pat McAfee be apologizing to Jimmy Kimmel if he was still independent and free? I don't think so. Another point I want to make, he gets all this credit for having Aaron Rodgers on to talk about the COVID vaccine, but go back and look at those interviews and look at the amount of times that he was like, hey folks, don't get mad at me. I took the vaccine. I'm vaccinated. Don't look at me. I'm not your problem. It's called money and views and clicks. Okay, this guy's not a revolutionary. Not only is Pat McAfee a sellout, he's also just an immature guy with bad judgment, and he played a big part in ruining Brett Favre's reputation over a story that turned out to be completely wrong.
Every time his name gets brought up, we have to mention
Hands are tied.
Have to do it? Well,
he tied the hands of the poor people
Yes,
and
it's
took
poor.
money right out of their pockets.
That's right.
Let me break down the Brett Favre story for you because the truth has come out now over time. Brett Favre went to the University of Southern Miss, and he was a big alumni, big supporter of the university, and he was trying to help them build an indoor football facility to attract Deion Sanders and Deion Sanders' sons when they were at Jackson State. Brett Favre got introduced by the athletic director of Southern Miss to a nonprofit, a government-run nonprofit that would help him get a grant to get some money to go towards the facility if he did some commercials and marketing for them. So he did the work, he did the commercials and marketing for the government nonprofit, and he got $1 million, which was not to go to him, but to go to Southern Miss to help build this facility. The money came through, he did the work, the money came through, and after the money had come through, Brett Favre found out on his own, not from anybody else, but on his own, found out that that nonprofit had diverted funds away from welfare recipients in Mississippi. And when he found this out, he paid the money back himself. So really he lost money because he got money, which was to go to the school, and then paid taxes on it, and then paid back the $1 million himself. So he loses money in the whole thing, did the right thing, gave the money back. The state said themselves in writing at the time, what a noble thing you did. They said, thank you for giving us money back in full immediately. You did a really nice thing, and that's in writing. 6 months later, this bogus story comes out. Brett Favre's a Trump supporter. Brett Favre's a conservative guy. This bogus story comes out where they start accusing him of stealing money from welfare recipients. in Mississippi. And it's the craziest thing because the money came from the state of Mississippi to a state-run nonprofit to go to a state university. So it's state to state to state. And somehow Brett Favre comes out as a criminal stealing money from welfare recipients. Pat McAfee buys this liberal media bogus story and says he's not going to mention Brett Favre's name without mentioning that he stole money from welfare recipients. Thanks a lot, Pat McAfee.
My brain literally was like, we're in holiday season. Brett Favre, what did he do? Didn't just steal from the poor. Yeah, he did that. What else? Oh, he is the actual Sticky Finger Bandits.
Yep, that's right.
From Home Alone 2 in New York. And we have to make sure that is mentioned every time that man's mentioned.
Have to.
Because that is a big deal that happened.
Oh, yeah.
Every time his name gets brought up, we have to mention.
Hands are tied.
Have to do it. Well,
He tied the hands of the poor people
Yes,
and took money right out of their pockets.
That's right.
We have to talk about that. Even though football player, incredibly tough football player, durable football player, good football player, did a lot of things. Certainly in the middle of stealing from poor people in Mississippi right now.
Absolutely.
Brett Favre sued Pat McAfee for those comments that he made, and Pat McAfee walked it way, way, way back, but the damage was already done to Brett Favre and his reputation. I'll put a link in the description so you can fact check what I just said, but what I told you is exactly how it's borne out. They settled out of court. Unfortunately, Brett Favre just got a devastating Parkinson's diagnosis, and I imagine that's maybe why he wanted to get it settled. Let me know in the comments what you think about Pat McAfee, what you think about my reports. Subscribe and turn on notifications if you think I did a good job. I'm doing some reports on the Matthews Report exposing some of these popular right-leaning public figures because as we head into the future and the culture is shifting and America's changing, I want people to know who was on the right side of history and who was on the wrong side of history just in recent years. Thank you for watching the entire Matthews Report. I appreciate you all so much. Have a great day. I'll see you again soon.